Hi, James Reynolds again. Welcome to part B of the TIA videos. Now we're talking about how to get some existing traffic volumes. So, learning outcomes, how do we assess the existing traffic conditions? So in the last video we've already introduced the case study and we've defined the study area as being the intersections that are nice and close to our development. So what do? Well, we go out and we order some traffic counts from the data collection team. Typically, they go out and count on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays because those are the days that are sort of typical as far as traffic volumes. If you do it on a Monday or you do it on a Friday, you're going to have weird effects of being close to the weekend. In this particular case study, because we're looking at a retail supermarket thing, we've also done some counts on a Saturday and some weekday counts because that's when the site itself, under our future conditions, is going to be busy. And so we want to see, is the existing traffic on the road during those times when our site's going to be busy going to be negatively affected to an unreasonable amount. So typically it takes about a week and a half to get some traffic counts. So what you do is you engage a traffic count company and or you go out and count it yourself. And yeah, it takes about a week or two. So, see you in a week or two. Okay, welcome back. Hope you had a great couple of weeks. I've gone out and I've done the traffic counts. So I have this ginormous amount of data. This is the sort of thing that you get from a traffic count survey, is lefts, rights, throughs on the various streets. There's definitions by whether it's this type of car or a heavy vehicle. Is it a truck or not? Is it a bicycle? There's counts of pedestrians. There's just so much data. And, you can get software that pumps out these lovely graphs that tell us things like, 100 cars, went out this way and 56 cars went southbound through and 3 cars went southbound left during the AM peak hour from 8:30 to 9:30. But you can tell that it's a bit of a challenge sometimes to figure out exactly when the AM peak hour is. And well, actually, it's not that much of a challenge. If you look at this nice little column over here, it's actually telling me the various totals for 15-minute and hourly totals. So there we go. We've had 1,141 in that hour. We've had 2,687 in that hour, and variously you'd find somewhere along here it'll give you the hour that it was the busiest. But again, we might actually not be interested in the hour that was busiest at this intersection. We might be interested in the hour that was busiest at the intersection above, and so we then want to match this one to that one. And you can see how it's a bit of a complicated effort and requires a bit of engineering judgment as to which numbers you're going to take as being, reflective of reality. Anyway, there's a lot of data. It's all in 15-minute increments because that's sort of the industry standard. And sometimes it's counted with a video if you're more technologically advanced. Sometimes it's someone out there with a clicker board and wearing a wonderful vest. But fundamentally, it's just numbers. So you get some nice graphics like this that tell you, it was busiest between 8:30 and 9:30 on that particular day. But we were counting between 7:30 and 9:30 by the looks of things. So for all we know, it might have actually been even busier for between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. But anyway, the standard way of doing these things is 7 to 9 in the morning, 4 to 6 in the afternoon. But, depending on where you are, you might have to vary that. In this one here, we've done 7:30 to 9:30 because we're in an inner city location. So we'd expect it to be a little bit busier later into the morning. Whereas if we were way out in the suburbs, we might be doing 6 till 9, 6 till 8:30 because that's when all the commuters are leaving very early in the morning to get to the city. So it requires a bit of judgment sometimes as to when you're going to do the counts. Fundamentally, the reason it requires this judgment is because this stuff is not cheap. To have someone sitting beside the road for 2 hours is going to cost quite a bit of money, and typically you're going to need 2 people to count each intersection if they're good at what they're doing. So you can see how over time it adds up, which is part of the reason why in our traffic count we've actually not really done all that many counts. We've done a couple in the morning and a couple in the evening, a couple on Saturdays, And I'd say that this one is actually being counted more than typically. Sometimes you'll just see a morning count and an afternoon count, and that's it. But yeah, data costs money, and so you've got to balance between how much extra data you want versus how much certainty you are going to have. But anyway, we end up with all of this data for a whole load of intersections, and the best way of doing it is to grab out a spreadsheet and then start putting all your counts in. So you can see in this, I've got a whole series of intersections, and essentially this becomes my model of the existing counts. And the nice little spreadsheet adds up all the lefts, rights, and throughs and does all that sort of stuff. So you can see sometimes the numbers don't really match between intersection and intersection. That might be because there's a driveway in between, and so 200, 100 and something vehicles have disappeared off the road network between these two intersections. Or it might be because I did the two counts at slightly different times, or the peak hour for one count was slightly different to the peak hour at another intersection, depending on how you've decided which one the peak hour is. And traffic volumes go up and down all the time, depending on local conditions and how busy it is that day. So sometimes it does require a bit of fiddling around and having a look. And what is often done is this exercise of balancing the traffic volumes between intersections. So you can see here, well, I didn't actually do a count at my existing site access, so I'm saying, yep, it looks like there's 500 vehicles going that way. And here it looks like the numbers are a little bit low compared to one of the counts down the road. So this count here at Colonel David Shank Lane apparently got the high numbers, wherever that is. And then further down, we've gone, well, we're going to bump the counts up here, and we'll, you make adjustments and try and get it to balance so that when you get to your nice graphics at the end, it all sort of makes sense. So we've got 470 vehicles going through here, plus 110 going right, and 90 going left. That should all add up to be the 105 plus the 450 plus the 5 that are arriving at the next intersection. It makes it a lot easier to do, but depending on what your exact study is doing, you might do it slightly different. But this is the way I've generally tended to do it. You sort of balance it so that it all makes sense and is logical. And that's sort of how you do your existing traffic volumes. So onwards to the next video.